Hi guys, this is actually a serious video, so I wanted to put some trigger warnings. It's okay if this is not your cup of tea, but I personally don't want any minors interacting with this person I'm going to be talking about, and I've personally been upset that he has got away and a lot of people don't know about his actions. He was pretty well known in the vocaloid community, so hopefully this can spread a bit of awareness and it could do some good. So I will be talking about someone called Joey, Crystallized Tears P, Crystal Tears P, or Animation Freak, which were his most known aliases in the vocaloid community. There was already a first expose on him before I even knew of this guy, and people seem to either ignore it or forgive him for it, but I will show you guys the video or a clip of the video
From
here.
the get-go, I wanna say you have made very disgusting things and you will be sorry for messing with those kids.
So that was just a part of the video, the part that I wanted to talk about the most. Obviously you can see that he is very predatory towards minors, but the reason why this first expose got swept under the rug was because he was able to manipulate a lot of people into saying that he changed, because this video and these screenshots were from when he was around 17, so he could still use the excuse that he was a minor. Here is a common pattern with this whole thing with him. He was able to control people like they were his puppets, and he had a whole gang of puppets that he was trying to manipulate and that he was mentally manipulating. He convinced these amazing, really nice people that he was not a bad guy and that all of these people are against him and want to see him fail, and this is all old shit and that he's changed now and that he's in a better headspace now. He really convinced that these amazing people that he was innocent now. This first expose on him was done when he had a YouTube account with around 80k subscribers, and he ended up just ditching that channel completely and just leaving it, but he also still had managed to convince his group of friends and most of the public that this was a changed man and that he would never do this anymore and that he was a minor and that he would never do anything like this anymore. So it was like, okay, so people forgave him. The second expose I was actually able to witness myself. I was in a group chat with Joey. Unbeknownst to me that he was an awful person, I was in a group chat with him, and you know, here are some screenshots of him getting exposed in my group chat. He originally came into the group chat saying he did something bad and that he doesn't want to be judged and he's sobbing and he feels like an awful person. The reason why sobbing is highlighted like that is because I was searching through the chat logs, and when you search up a certain word, it highlights like that. This is what he later on went to say. I'm going to be talking about something very serious, and I understand if you no longer want to associate with me or support me. Last year when I had turned 18, I had no concept of right or wrong. I engaged with someone that was younger than me, 15 years of age at the time. It was an explicit conversation, and at the time I didn't understand this was wrong. I was still in the mindset of a minor, and I stupidly engaged in an illegal conversation. I've been trying to work on myself since. I'm still not at my best, but I understand what I did was wrong, and I'm sorry to those who were affected by my actions, and I'm still working on myself to this day. Thank you for being there for me. I'm sorry. So for a little bit of context, this second expose happened when I did know him, like I said earlier, but basically what had happened here, someone that I know personally in Tora's server had tried to bait him into a illicit conversation so he could see if he had changed from the first expose. I said this to the person who baited him, but I said to him, listen, you shouldn't have got yourself in that situation, but you are a minor and you know, I am not mad at you and never will be mad at you. And the thing that really annoyed me about this situation is that he really got gaslighted for this. This situation started out as basically Joey getting his word in first. He made it seem like he was the victim and that, you know, he was the person who had been wronged and that he was a changed man and that he knows what he's doing and that, you know, his actions were all justified due to mental instability. Before anyone knew who was exposing him or who this minor was, Joey was already getting this word in and basically trying to already convince people that he was a changed man again and that he was in the right and that he shouldn't have been baited. And it was annoying because he began to act all solemn and did this apology and stuff like that. But then as soon as he saw people taking his side, he began to gaslight this minor and, you know, he really made this minor feel bad about what he did and gaslighted him, even though he was the one who still took part in the sexual conversation. Like I had mentioned earlier, he basically had a group of people who he really manipulated into thinking that he was the good guy. And I will never ever blame these guys for being manipulated because it's not their fault. So I don't want to include this the situation in where people were sticking up for him because these people were manipulated and they don't think like this anymore. And I have spoken to a handful of them and they have all got over Joey and they were all recovering from the mental manipulation that he did and the mental abuse that he put on them. So I don't want to include the screenshots including their names, but I was there at the time and he was getting stuck up for heavily. And at the end of the day and at the end of the situation, he got forgiven again. And now I'm going to be talking about the third and final expose. So the third expose was actually done by my friend Barry, and I actually asked him if I could talk to him about his situation with Joey today on my channel because I didn't want this just to be, you know, a title screen saying the third expose. I wanted enough evidence as much as I could include, but in this third expose we have the most evidence, so I will show you guys everything in this one. Joey had once even said to Barry, "Look, I've had my trust broken by many people before. Do you promise to tell me if you're ever uncomfy or to never like, quote unquote, expose me, Lamau, like keep it between us?" Oh, there's so much to unpack here. This was after he got exposed the second time, in which, if y'all don't remember, he said that he knew that it was wrong to engage in illicit conversations or be in a relationship with minors. He was nearly 20 at this point. Him saying all this stuff here, he knows it's wrong, but he keeps on doing it, and he is completely fine with doing it as long as he doesn't get exposed. I asked Barry today if I could talk to him about the Joey situation, and he obviously agreed. So I'm going to show you guys all the questions I asked him in this kind of interview, and you guys will really see the real Joey. So the first question I asked him was, how old were you when Joey began to talk to you in a romantic way? And he said he was 15. I then went on to ask him if he also tried to engage in illicit conversations with him, and he replied that he did on multiple occasions, maybe once or twice a month, basically when he was really horny. I then asked, looking back at it now, were you able to see any tactics of manipulation? If so, would you mind telling me what he would do? And he said, whenever I told him that I didn't want to do things, he just casually replied with this emoji, and he knew that it would make me feel bad, so at the end I always did it. However, I never sent my pictures to him, I always used fake ones. I then asked if he said anything after he was exposed, and Barry said that he told him beforehand that he was going to expose him, so he deactivated before it. He didn't contact Barry at all, but he did reach out to his friend. In previous conversations, Barry had mentioned to me that he said he was going to wait for him till he turned 16. I asked if he could tell me more about that, and Barry said basically he never said that we were dating, but I asked him once if he was going to date me. He said that he will wait for me until I turn 16, but he still did those things with me. I was very confused. Barry has literally only turned 16 just recently this month in December, so I basically just asked, while you were still 15, he acted like y'all were together but never made it official, and Barry said, yeah, obviously not in public but in private. He also told me that he always targeted minors who had really bad mental health, basically helping you to get better, and he also dated another minor who I knew, and I said the name of there, but I'm not going to say his name here. This person broke up with Joey because he was asking for illicit conversations and stuff, and he didn't want to because he was a minor. I'd also like to add, the first time I ever met Joey was when he was upset about this said breakup from this other minor, and this situation actually happened, which I'll tell you guys about. So for context, this guy cancelled on me last minute while I had already put my makeup on and I was ready to go out, but he cancelled on me literally like an hour before I was about to go out. So I talked about it in Tora's server, and Joey started like being weird. He would constantly, during random ass conversations that weren't even on the topic, he would randomly just pop up and be like, oh, well, at least you didn't get dumped because this guy didn't love you. At least you didn't get dumped. And he would constantly say this stuff during random ass conversations. Not even in ones I was involved in, he would just constantly bring up the fact that he got dumped and that he wasn't loved, and it would just make people feel uncomfortable and no one would want to say anything. And it's just like, oh, come on girl, you don't have to shove this in everyone's faces. We get that you're upset, but please stop. So when he did it to me, I got very frustrated because I spent a good 2 hours doing my makeup and then another hour doing my hair for this date, and then I got stood up. So I was very upset that this guy cancelled on me last minute. And when Joey just started piping in and making the conversation about himself, I was like, you know what? Shut the fuck up. Yeah, he got super mad at me for doing this. I just said, stop shoving this in people's faces and stop making conversations about you. And he later went on to call me ugly, cake face, fake inside and out, but he deleted all the messages. So it looks like I'm talking to myself when I search the messages back up. But trust, there are about 10, 15 people who were there while this conversation was happening. So no one's forgetting it, but he just deleted all the messages where he insulted my appearance. Also, I had no idea that the ex in question was a minor, and if I knew, I probably would have went off on him even more, but whatever. Other things he would do would include kissing up to people with larger follower accounts, which was specifically Johnny, Tora, and myself. He would constantly beg us to like shout him out, and when we were on VC with other people in Tora's public server, he would join and he would like always beg for shout-outs as well, and it just made people feel very uncomfortable. He would also constantly beg Tora to collab with him to the point where it just looks so desperate, very embarrassing. I'd also like to add that when I mentioned to Barry earlier that he flirted with other guys, I literally mean everyone with a peen. In my personal group chat, he tried to flirt with Aaron, Jay, Chan, Ethan, Seb, and Zeno, and in Tora's server, there was well over 20 plus people who he had tried to engage with too. He'd pretty much say the same thing to all of these people, so here's an example. This is what he said to my friend Aaron, who has been in plenty of my videos before, so you might recognize him, but he said all of this to Aaron on the first day of meeting him, and this was a very common theme. He would meet someone, and on the first day, he would say this very intense stuff to them and try and coerce them into some sort of relationship or some sort of bond with them. He also actually hit on straight guys as well, which was very, very weird. He would always hit on my friend Tuan and my other friend Chan. He would always hit on them and he would make them very uncomfortable. Lastly, I like to talk about how he treated his friends. I witnessed basically all of this myself, and if y'all don't trust me, you can ask Tora, Johnny, and a bunch of other people I can list in Tora's server and in my own. So without further ado, let me tell you guys how he would treat his best friend. He would order him around and wake him up whenever he saw fit. He would make him sit on VCs by himself to wait for him to come. If he joined me and Tora's conversations, he would get insanely angry at him. He would try to manipulate him with money. I saw this myself on VC as well. He would try and send him money and force him into buying things that he didn't want to buy, and they would get into an argument about it if he did not want to buy it or if he sent the money back, and he would get very offended at him. He would just get mad at anything he did. Even if he said hi the wrong way, he would go off on him and ignore him for hours. He also had access to his passwords and would even use his account for his own gain. He used his password in servers where he had mod privileges and abused the power. He would take credit for his 3D model art and not let him post to his own DeviantArt page, and he also had tried to have a romantic relationship with this guy while he was messaging other people, including minors. He would purposefully alienate him in front of him while kissing up to me and Tora. For context, me and Tora are very, very close, and we have this kind of little in-joke where we call each other twins because we have the same birthday and we're very similar. So we call each other twins, evil twins, and Joey would constantly act like he was part of our gang, and he would constantly leave him out and try and say, oh, we're the evil triplets now, and we're the free besties, but it was never like that. He would say this in front of him, and it was just so rude to me. For the record, I am calling him Jay because he didn't want his full name or his name in this video, which I totally respected, so I just put this J letter in. His name does not begin with J, so don't try searching it up. But he gave me permission to talk about all the things he did to him in this video for, you know, awareness. A lot of this stuff is just the tip of the iceberg. He has honestly done so much. He has messaged so many minors, he's messaged so many people, but, you know, I just wanted to include the stuff that would really show his true colors. I'd also like to add that me, Johnny, and Tora never really knew how bad of a person he was until Barry exposed his ass, and so did Jay. We just thought he was not a very nice guy, so there was no need to ever expose him because we just thought he was kind of a dick. Me and Tora would literally not spend a night every day where we would talk bad things about him because we were so annoyed at everything he did. He would always do stuff every single night where me and Tora would get pissed off at him, and it got to the point where we were literally talking about him every night in our PMs, just being so annoyed at him. And when we found out that he was this awful manipulator and groomer, that was the final straw. And the reason I'm making this video is because a lot of the victims feel like he has just gotten a scot-free pass and that everyone's forgotten about it and it's just been swept under the rug and no one cares anymore. I know basically all of the victims from him because the Vocaloid community in Tora's server is very tight-knit and we all know each other. The thing is, I also know that he was still trying to reach out to people after he got exposed. He was messaging other minors in Tora's server trying to convince them that he was the good guy, and people were sending screenshots of this in Tora's server, and it just makes me quite sick. People are still, you know, dealing with the aftermath of what he did to them. He's a really, really awful person, and I was hoping to make this video to spread awareness because people do think he's going to come back, so please look out for him. I already put his picture at the start and trust his picture will be in the thumbnail. But yes, I don't really care if this video is monetized or not. It probably won't be, but I don't care because I just want this message out there. Please be careful around anyone called Joey Crystallized TSP, Animation Free Crystal TSP, or just anyone named Joey. You know what he looks like now, so just beware because he is not nice. If you guys have any questions on the situation, Barry has also kindly offered to help out and answer your questions. His @ on Twitter is berrycandy with 3 eyes on the end, and he is also in my Discord server, and the link for my Discord is down below. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys can stay safe. Not just from Joey, but just in general. This world sucks right now, so yeah. Thank you for watching. Please do keep in touch with me on my socials here, and, you know, Stan Wowaka, I guess.